what I eat in a day on a carnivore diet. I've never really been much of a breakfast person, but occasionally I do want to have breakfast. So when I do get the urge to eat something for breakfast on a carnivore diet, I have a little form that I use for eggs to make it look like, the egg on an egg McMuffin. I will cook an egg, and then I will cook 2 sausage patties, and I'll make an egg sandwich out of those patties. So 2 sausage patties with an egg in between them. And that does me just fine for the morning. On those mornings I do want breakfast. That's more than enough for me. You can have more than that if you want, doesn't matter. But that's just something to throw out there besides the traditional bacon and eggs or scrambled eggs, whatever it is you would have for breakfast or. Now my lunch is typically the same thing all week, but I might change it from week to week, and generally only about 3 different lunch items. So for 1 week, I'll have organic uncured beef hot dogs. I'll have 2 hot dogs, and then I'll have a hard-boiled egg with that. And that's enough for lunch for me. I get most of my protein with dinner. The other thing that I'll do for lunches is I will take and cook up hamburger patties on a Sunday, 10 of them, so 2 a day. I put a slice of Swiss cheese in between them and about a teaspoon of butter. And then when those are warming up on my dash in my glass dish, the butter melts and gets soaked into the hamburger. So I have a nice tasty hamburger with cheese, 2 patties, and I might have pepperoni with that, some pepperoni slices, and that'll be my lunch for that week. And the other thing I'll make is just hamburger with egg in it, and I'll split a pound of hamburger between 2 lunches, so 2.5 pounds of hamburger for the week, and I'll put 2 eggs in that, a pound of hamburger, and then I'll split it up so I get 2 meals out of that, 2 lunches. I'll throw in a pat of butter, again, just added fat, and let that sit on my dash while I'm at work and let it warm up. And that's a pretty good lunch. I'm usually doing pretty good after I eat that. That's probably more protein than the other 2 lunches, but it's good. It's decent, and it carries me over till dinner time. So those are the 3 lunches I typically eat. Now dinner is a little bit more of a variety than what lunch is. So one night I'll have steak, and it can be anywhere from a porterhouse to a ribeye to New York strip. It just depends on what I feel like. I typically buy half a cow at a time, so I have plenty of steaks to choose from. I might have a couple pieces of chicken that I've fried in my tallow and have that, and I'll have a side of my macaroni and cheese chicken side dish, and if you click up here you'll get the recipe for that. Another night I'll have probably 3 baked pork chops, and I just sprinkle it with some seasoning, salt and pepper, maybe some garlic powder or onion powder, depending on what I feel like. Put them on a rack in the oven and cook them, and that'll be my dinner for that night. Dinner ranges, like I said, steak, pork chops, chicken, meatloaf, and instead of breadcrumbs I just use crushed pork rinds. Other than that, the recipe is the same as traditional meatloaf. I come up with another dish if you can have spaghetti sauce, and I've mentioned this in one of my other videos. I use Rao's spaghetti sauce because it has no sugar and no extra ingredients, and nothing that you would want to consume. So I'll make meatballs the same way that I do the meatloaf with the pork rinds, and I cook a piece of chicken, and then I'll put a little bit of the Rao's spaghetti sauce on it and sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on it, so it's kind of like a chicken Parmesan with meatballs, and that's pretty tasty. It's pretty filling. That's pretty much it for dinner. Occasionally I'll make my lasagna recipe, and again, if you want that recipe, just click up here and it'll take you to it. When I go out to eat, which is usually about once a week, we'll go out either on a Friday night or a Saturday night. It can typically be a steakhouse or something like that, or someplace where I get fish or shrimp, things like that. On the weekends, lunches are, I might occasionally do a deli meat roll up with some Swiss or provolone cheese, but it's typically going to be hamburgers and hot dogs. And I don't mind it. I don't find it boring. Some people find carnivore boring. I don't. One day a week, usually on Wednesdays, we will eat breakfast for dinner. So I'll have 3 or 4 eggs, either over easy or scrambled, and either bacon, sausage, or ham steak. And that's dinner. In a given week, I will usually eat about a half a dozen eggs. Sometimes it's a little bit more if I have breakfast, but about a half a dozen is pretty normal. And I find that that's more than enough for me. Your mileage may vary depending on what your goals are. I'm not in this for bodybuilding or anything. It's just health. I've lost, I believe, all the weight I'm going to lose. I think my body is pretty much hit its set point at about 160 pounds. I don't think I'm going to get any lighter than that. If I do, I might only get a couple pounds. I don't expect to go much lower than that. And that's about the weight I was at in my mid-30s before I started gaining all the weight. But that's typically what I eat in a day. It's just not real fancy. It's pretty straightforward. Grocery shopping for that kind of meals is real easy. I don't find it expensive, especially since I buy my half of beef, because I only pay $5.75 a pound for it. So my beef isn't expensive. I'm waiting on getting a half a pig, and I'll have that, and that's probably going to be about $500. So pretty close to the same amount per pound as what the beef is, and that's pastured, no antibiotics, all coming from an organic farm. So let me know, what's your typical carnivore meal like? What do you eat in a day, on any given day? Do you change it up? Do you have a bigger variety than what I have? Some people like a bigger variety. They might have Italian sausages, they might have turkey or kielbasa. What do you like? Like I said, I don't deviate a whole lot. Once in a while I might have Italian sausage. Once in a while I might have a turkey breast. But these are my typical go-to meals week in and week out. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Is there anything that you add that I didn't mention here? Let's give some people some ideas for their meals. Give me a like, subscribe, and as always, have a great day.